Hey folks, Chris Holden of chrisholden.net here, continuing with the Modular Dungeon series is another example of pushing displacement maps in more creative ways. We're doing a torch here. It's currently looking at the final asset in UDK. Here's a quick look at the particles when activated with the scene. You can see the fire there, and the others are like background particles like smoke and whatnot. Rotating around, take a closer look here. It's supposed to look like a bunch of sticks or with wood kind of randomly bundled together. The top uses a fire effect. Using like a burning embers with an alpha to separate that. Let's look at the high detail mesh in max. This mesh is highly exaggerated to give like a sharp, strong, normal map result in game. Exaggerated as the wood grain will be muted intensely with the final material, mostly by the diffuse. The horizontal bands will act as a twine wrapped around to hold the torch together. And let's talk about the torch's construction. So starting with a primitive spear, you can see the wireframe here real quick. Yeah, basically simple primitive spear, unmodified. I apply the turbo smooth modifier to that. Click. This allows me to dynamically control the tessellation when working. Remember this because if it slows down your computer, you can reduce the turbo smooth iterations. Next, again, I apologize for the quality that this is coming in, but it doesn't really matter because these settings that I'm coming up with are of my own. But if you go to the material map browser, you select wood and you drag this into a displacement. And yeah, sorry about this, just setting some things up real quick. So yeah, you drag these slots. I'm going to make another one here. I'm going to make a cellular one as well. You'll drag these to the displacement of a displacement modifier, which we'll be applying and looking at here in a moment. Alright, here we go. Alright, here's the wood map applied as a displacement on the sphere. Obviously it doesn't look that much like wood, kind of like an eye of the beholder, if you will. But pretty neat though. It's got some problems, but we'll work that out. That's just how these things start. If I apply this FFD to it, I'm basically applying an FFD to a sphere, stretching it downward and scaling in the base here. As you can see, just a simple box FFD. And just by doing this, it almost kind of looks like a wood club. Very simple, but not exactly what I want, but you can see the wood grain, and it kind of works. But we need to randomize it a bit more. If I apply the cellular, let's see what happens here. It should get pretty intense. Oh wait, here, let's look at that real quick. Again, there's a lot of settings here. The height, fractals, the chips, the spread. Anyway, let's apply that. You'll see it's really intense. Again, it's super strong, exaggerated, sharp. I'll probably make a good stalactite or stalagmite with the right adjustments, but again, I wanted something intense because I want an intense result. A little bit stylized. Works pretty good though. Let me see here. If I deactivate these turbo smooths, you can see we almost have like a low poly mesh here. Which, this is just the FFD and the displacement applied to the original sphere. I can go to the original sphere and reduce the segments and get different levels of detail. So you can technically set up your LODs right here, but I'm going for full detail. The primitive base gives a nice quad mesh for easy optimization later, or now if you wish, but I'm not going to worry about that. Here's a quick review of the steps. We started with the sphere. We did the FFD. Or the turbo smooth, sorry, then the FFD, then the wood displacement, and the cellular displacement. You could really go either way. Again, it's up to you to make these adjustments on strength, the way it's placed on, whatever. But let's look at these maps. I'm going to skip the baking process because it takes too long, and we've covered that before in other videos, and you do what you want. So this is the result of the normal map. Really nice and strong. Here's the AO. You can see a few baking errors, but that's not important. This is just my first baking result for the tutorial, so it doesn't matter. Those are all cleaned up later. And this is a color map I made by just applying two different colors to the wood and the horizontal bands which were shown in the original mesh, which will be used as like a twine, which I'm going to paint that in anyway. But let's look at the final. Oh, and you can see my original there, the reference there from Indiana Jones, if you look quick. Opening up the final here. This is the final wood diffuse. If you can see the twine there. Again, sorry for the quality, but not really too important for this video. Let's talk about how I did this diffuse. The texture is basically a wood grain I assembled. Actually, let me break down the layers. That was the mask. Here's just the texturing. Back to the mask. That's just the wood grain, which is basic wood I assembled. A little bit of hand painting, a little bit of wood. It's just a quick hand painted kind of dirtiness here. Some colors that kind of match and fit with style. Quickly painting in some burns, some scorching there. Like the wood has been burned at the top where the torch will be. Quickly painted in some horizontal lines there for the twine, as you can see. Works pretty good. I was thinking about modeling that in, but figured I'd save time, just draw it in. Here's the AO applied, multiplied, that is. There's the AO in the original form. Here's applied, multiplied again. You can see that. I'll do a few little touch-ups, some little adjustments here and there, some levels. Next, this is what I call normal shading. This is where I take well, I'll just get you a look at that real quick to get an idea. I use the normal map. As you can see, I already applied the twine to that, but here's the red channel, here's the green channel. What I do is I take those two and sort of put them together to give this result here. I'll show you the actual map. Yeah, here it is. They're kind of evenly put together and then overlaid, and I keep this at a very low opacity because this is kind of a shading layer and you want the normal to do more work. But this kind of adds a nice stylistic look. Works pretty well. You can adjust it based on your project and the needs, what you need to do. Next, I do a little bit of edge enhancements. A good way to do that is you take that normal shading and put refined edges on there, but I like to paint it in. But let's look at that in UDK because that is done. So here's the final in the UDK model viewer. If you look close, you can see a little bit of a wood grain, or not a wood grain, but a bit of a detail map to kind of makes it look nicer up close. But this is a small asset, so you never really need it. So it's not really necessary. There's a few bugs. You can see a few glowing spots here come through, but again, a quick asset, so I can clean that up later. And the top ember fire effect, which is just a simple alpha channel with some glowing clouds. Yeah, no big deal. So thanks for checking out the video.